At my own son's wedding, his bride called me a vegetable. Is this drooling man really your father? Emma shrieked, her $15,000 gown brushing the floor as she jabbed a finger at my wheelchair. Get him out of my sight. 200 guests froze, eyes fixed on me. My boy Michael stood there, red-faced with embarrassment. Beside me, the oxygen tank let out a steady hiss. I did not flinch. I did not argue. I just sat there, letting her words hang in the air like poison drifting through the room. What Emma did not realize was this: I am worth $62 million. The chair, the tank, even the trembling in my hands, all fake. Every bit of it was a carefully designed illusion. $200,000 worth of Hollywood artistry. Because that is who I am. Samuel Jackson, a retired special effects designer. And for months, I had been staging an elaborate test. Watching, waiting. She had been failing spectacularly. What happened next would shatter her perfect little wedding day like glass under a hammer. But before I explain that, I need to take you back to where this started. It began 6 months earlier, when Michael told me he was engaged. I was truly happy for him. My son had found love, or so I thought. Emma Stone was her name. She worked as a healthcare administrator in Beverly Hills. On the surface, she had everything: beauty, brains, success. Any father would have been thrilled to see his son with her. Except for one small, ugly detail. She believed I was broke. After my wife passed away 3 years ago, I started living quietly. Very quietly. I rented a tiny studio in Venice, drove a beat-up 10-year-old Toyota Corolla, wore shirts from Walmart. I stopped talking about my old career, the patents I owned, the investments I had made. Grief has a way of stripping things down until you barely recognize yourself. Michael knew I had worked in special effects, but he had no idea how far I had gone. He didn't know that Disney had bought my company in 2019 for a fortune. He didn't know about the royalties from prosthetics technology that still came in every month. That was the source of my $62 million. And I kept it hidden. Because sometimes the only way to really see people is to let them believe you have nothing. Emma failed that test the very first night we met. We went to one of those sleek West Hollywood restaurants where everyone takes photos of their food. She barely looked at me, her eyes glued to her phone. When the waiter asked about wine, she rolled her eyes and said, "Whatever is cheapest." We are paying for Samuel, too. Michael's face burned with embarrassment. I stayed silent. Later, while dessert was on the table, Emma leaned in with fake sympathy. So, Samuel, Michael tells me you are between jobs. Have you thought about senior programs? There are options for people in your situation. My situation. Like I was some helpless charity case. I manage fine, I told her quietly. Well, we just want to help, she continued, her tone dripping with condescension. Maybe we can find you a simple assisted living home. Nothing extravagant, but safe. That was the moment I realized what kind of person she really was. She was ready to lock me away before I was even a problem. And the pattern continued. At Michael's birthday, she seated me with the children. More fitting for your level, she whispered. When they toured houses, she made sure to remind me I was not welcome. This is really more for young professionals. You would feel out of place. At their engagement party, she introduced me to her parents with a smirk. This is Michael's father. He has been struggling since his wife died. We are keeping an eye on him. Her mother, Julia, looked at me with pity. Her father, Edward, hardly acknowledged me at all. But the real breaking point came when I overheard her planning the wedding. I had stopped by their apartment to drop off a birthday card when I caught Emma's voice through the door. We need to discuss your father, she told Michael. What about him? He is going to humiliate us. Look at him, those clothes, that beaten-down face. My family will think we're poor. Michael's voice wavered. Dad has had a rough time since Mom passed. That is exactly the point. He looks like he belongs in a nursing home, not at our wedding. Can't you clean him up? Buy him a proper suit? I knocked. The room went silent. Michael opened the door, his face flushed. Dad, I didn't know you were stopping by. Emma appeared behind him, her smile so fake it could have been painted on. Samuel, how nice to see you. We were just talking about the wedding. I heard, I said calmly. Her cheeks turned red, but she did not apologize. Instead, she handed me a brochure from Men's Warehouse. The venue is upscale, she said, so there's a dress code. Nothing too expensive, we don't want you straining your budget. That was the moment I made my choice. I was going to test her completely. Push her until her true colors bled through in front of everyone. If she could treat a grieving widower like garbage when she thought he was poor, how would she act if she believed I was broken and helpless? I called my old contacts at Hollywood FX Studios. I need a favor, I told Adrian, my former partner. Something big. 2 weeks later, the transformation was complete. A $12,000 wheelchair, medical grade, with hidden recording gear built right into the armrest. An oxygen tank that looked perfect but was nothing but a prop. Latex prosthetics that made my hands shake like I had been through a stroke. Glycerin drool that looked heartbreakingly real. I practiced for hours, slurred speech, vacant stares, confused expressions, the full performance of a man defeated by illness. When Michael first saw me like that, his heart broke. Dad, what happened? When did this start? I let my voice rasp low, shaky, practiced to sound fragile. Last month, I whispered. Came out of nowhere. Doctor says, stroke. Michael's training as a physical therapist kicked in instantly. He wanted to check my reflexes, run tests, do something. I fumbled through excuses, feigned confusion, sprinkled in just enough medical jargon to sound believable but never anything he could actually confirm. Emma's reaction, though, that was the real show. The first time she saw me slumped in the chair, she actually flinched backward. Oh my God, she whispered to Michael. How bad is it? The doctors aren't sure, Michael admitted, voice cracking. He might regain some function. Her answer came without hesitation. But he cannot come to the wedding like this. Look at him. He's my father, Michael said. I understand that. But this is our day, our perfect day. I have spent 2 years planning this. I will not have that in all our photos. That. She called me that. Maybe he could stay home, she suggested coolly. We'll have someone live stream the ceremony for him. To Michael's credit, he fought back. He tried. But Emma pressed and pressed until she compromised. If he absolutely has to come, then he sits in the back. No photos. No standing in the reception line. And someone must babysit him the entire time. The test was working better than I ever dreamed. She was exposing herself, and she did not even realize it. Then came the wedding morning. Emma called me directly. I almost let it go to voicemail, but after 6 long rings, I answered, slurring my words just enough. Hello? Samuel, she said, clipped and cold. We need to talk. This wasn't a bride worried about family. This was damage control. Oh, Emma. Hello, dear, I murmured. Listen, she continued, all business. I've been thinking about today. About the wedding. And I think it's best if you don't come. I let the silence sit, let her imagine me struggling to understand. But, it's Michael's wedding. I know. And we'll make sure you see everything. We'll have someone FaceTime you through the entire ceremony. It will be just like you're there. I want to see my son get married. And you will, just from home. Where you'll be comfortable. Where you'll be safe. Safe. That word oozed from her mouth, dressed up like concern, but underneath it was pure selfishness. Samuel, can I be honest with you? Here it came. You're not well. And this day needs to be perfect. My family is flying in from every corner of the country. Michael's colleagues from the hospital will all be there. Important people. People who matter. I understand. Do you? Because I need you to really understand. This wedding cost $200,000. Every detail has to be flawless. Every moment will be filmed, photographed, remembered forever. I cannot risk you disrupting things. Making sounds. Having an episode. I won't make a scene, I said softly. You cannot promise that. You are sick, Samuel. Very sick. What if you collapse during the ceremony? What if you roll out of your wheelchair? What if you make those noises? Those noises. She meant the slurred words, the ragged breathing I had rehearsed. Emma, please. Let me come. I am trying to protect you. To save you from humiliation. Because honestly, the way you look right now, the way you sound, it's heartbreaking. People will stare. They will whisper. They will pity you. Even knowing it was all a performance, the cruelty still pierced me. Her words landed like blades. But what will hurt most, she pressed on, is that they will pity Michael. They will look at him and think, poor man, chained to that broken old father. Is that what you want for your son on his wedding day? I let my voice crack, made it smaller. No. I don't want that. Good. Then we're agreed. You'll stay home. Michael can call you after the reception. Wait, I said quickly, fragile. What if I promise to sit in the back? Stay quiet? She sighed, long and theatrical. Samuel, I don't think you realize how you look right now. Have you seen yourself? Really looked? I don't. You look like death. Your clothes hang off your frame. That drool, it's revolting. Your hands never stop shaking. You can barely form a full sentence. My guests will be horrified. They will spend the entire ceremony watching you instead of us. Some of them have never seen anyone in your condition. Condition. She said it like I was carrying a disease. And it isn't fair to Michael either. He has been stressed about you for weeks. Worried sick. This day should be about joy, not about you. I could hear her pacing in the background, probably her hotel suite. Besides, the venue has stairs. The bathrooms aren't designed for wheelchairs. What happens if you need help? What happens if there's an accident? An accident. She was painting a picture of me soiling myself in front of her guests. I've talked to Michael, she finished, and he agrees this is best. That was a lie. I knew my son. He would never agree to cast me aside. He said that? I asked quietly. Of course, Emma snapped. He's thinking clearly. Which is more than I can say for you. You are not considering what is best for anyone. You are being selfish. Selfish? I repeated. For wanting to see my only child get married? She sighed loudly. Fine, let me spell it out. You are an embarrassment waiting to happen. A disaster in a wheelchair. And I will not let you ruin the most important day of my life. There it was. Her mask was gone. No more sugary pity, no more pretending to care about my health. Just raw, unfiltered contempt. Do you understand me, Samuel? You are not welcome at my wedding. I let the silence stretch, long enough for her to think she had won. Then I whispered, I understand. Good, she said smugly. I knew you would come to your senses. But Emma? What now? I am coming anyway. The line went dead quiet. The pause between us stretched like a wire pulled too tight. Excuse me? Michael is my son, I said. And I am going to watch him get married. Like hell you are, she hissed. The mask was gone completely now. Her voice dripped venom. If you show up looking like that, I will have security drag you out. I will make sure every single guest knows you for what you are, a selfish, attention-seeking old man. Okay, I said simply. Okay. Then I will see you at the wedding. And I hung up. 10 minutes later, my phone lit up like fireworks. Texts, threats, ultimatums. Promises that she would destroy whatever relationship I had left with Michael if I dared show my face. I turned the phone off. Then I got ready. The custom wheelchair polished and ready. The oxygen tank gleaming. 4 hours of prosthetic makeup applied with precision. I looked in the mirror one last time. A broken old man stared back. Drool glistened at the corner of his mouth. His eyes were dull, his body fragile. But behind that hollow mask lived $62 million in quiet fury. And a plan. A plan that was about to change everything. I rolled into the Los Angeles Medical Center wedding venue at exactly 1:45 in the afternoon. The irony didn't escape me. Emma, the healthcare administrator, had chosen a medical center as her wedding hall. The grand ballroom looked out over the children's hospital. Children fighting for their lives inside, while she sneered at the sick and called disabled people disgusting. The venue coordinator, a young woman named Monica, spotted me right away. "Sir, are you all right? Do you need any help?" I let my head droop, my voice thick with fake slurring. "Here, for wedding. Michael Jackson. Emma Stone." Her face softened. "Oh, you must be the groom's father. Miss Stone told us you might need extra assistance." I bet she did. Monica guided me to the farthest back row. Not just the back, tucked behind a pillar where no one could see me. A folding chair had been removed to make room for my wheelchair. "Miss Stone thought you would be more comfortable here," Monica explained kindly. "Quieter. Less overwhelming. More comfortable." Right. Hidden was the truth. I watched the guests trickle in. Emma's family claimed the front rows, designer suits, diamond jewelry, rehearsed smiles. Her father Edward flashed a Rolex that could buy a car. Her mother Julia clutched a Hermes bag like it was armor. Michael's side was different. Hospital co-workers, old neighbors, family friends who remembered my wife. People with real lives and genuine warmth. The contrast was almost painful to watch. At 2:15, Michael stepped to the altar. My son looked sharp in his black tuxedo, but his shoulders were tight with strain. His eyes kept sweeping the room. Searching for me. When he finally found me, his face crumbled, relief, guilt, love, all at once. He started to move toward me, but the coordinator caught him. "Places, everyone. We're about to begin." From across the room, he mouthed, "I love you, Dad." I nodded, my hand trembling as I wiped fake drool from my chin. Then Emma appeared. $15,000 of Vera Wang silk. A diamond tiara glittering like stars. She looked like a queen, but her eyes were cold. She glided down the aisle, all poise and elegance, until her gaze found me behind the pillar. For just a second, her perfect smile faltered. Her jaw tightened. She was furious that I had come. The ceremony itself was flawless. Vows exchanged. Rings slipped onto fingers. Michael's voice cracked as he promised to love Emma, in sickness and in health. I turned that phrase over in my mind. In sickness and in health. Emma had already shown her definition. When they kissed, I made my choice. Up until then, part of me had wavered. Maybe she would soften. Maybe she would surprise me with a shred of humanity. But she never once looked my way. Not once. Even hidden behind a pillar, out of sight, out of mind, I still bothered her. My presence, tucked away like a dirty secret, was too much for her perfect day. And that told me everything I needed to know. I slid my iPhone from my pocket, keeping it low so no one noticed. Opened my banking app, Wells Fargo Private Banking. The numbers glared back at me, $62,358,942.50. Then I scrolled to the contact I had saved weeks earlier, the National Disability Rights Network. I had memorized their mission statement by heart: dignity, opportunity, equal treatment for all people with disabilities. Words Emma would never understand. A $600 wire transfer sat drafted on my screen, waiting for a single tap. But before I sent it, I wanted to see how much lower Emma could sink. I did not have to wait long. During the photo session, the photographer drifted toward me. "Shall we take a few shots with the father of the groom?" Emma's voice sliced through the room like a knife. "No. No family photos with him. He's not photogenic right now. Not photogenic." That was her label for me. Her father-in-law. Michael's mouth opened to object, but Emma clamped down on his arm. "Honey, look at him. Really look. Do you want those pictures in our album forever?" My son faltered, torn apart by love and loyalty. "Maybe just one or two," he whispered. Emma shut it down. "Absolutely not. This is our day. Our memories. I will not have them ruined." Ruined. That word settled in my gut like ice. "My existence," she said, "would ruin their memories." That was all I needed to hear. I reopened the app and added a zero. $6 million, headed to organizations that fought for people Emma despised. Then I started recording everything on my phone. Every snide comment. Every dismissive look. Every single drop of venom. The test was over. Emma Stone had failed harder than I imagined. Now it was time for the results. The cocktail hour gave me my chance. While guests laughed and clinked glasses, I steered my chair toward the business center. Monica, the venue coordinator, walked me there kindly. "Just need, check email," I slurred. "Son's insurance forms." She nodded, sympathetic, and left me alone. Perfect. I had 47 minutes before dinner service. First, I uploaded everything to the cloud, 4 hours of hidden camera footage from the wheelchair, the phone call from that morning, recorded legally. California is a one-party consent state, screenshots of my banking balance showing the $62 million. Then I pulled up the list of organizations I had researched for months. Not just the National Disability Rights Network, but the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation, United Spinal Association, Paralyzed Veterans of America, the Brain Injury Association. These were not just charities. They were soldiers. Legal fighters. Public advocates who knew how to make stories like this explode across social media. I drafted emails, attached the evidence, laid out the whole situation, and promised major donations if they would help me shine a spotlight on what happened here today. The replies came fast. "Mr. Jackson, this is appalling. How can we support you? This level of ableism cannot stay hidden. Would you go on record? Our social media reach is 2.5 million followers. This story must be told." For the first time all day, I smiled, a real smile, not the twisted grimace of my act. Next, I called Adrian at Hollywood FX Studios. "How's the performance holding up?" he asked. "Better than expected," I said. "But I need you to film the breakdown tonight. You want the reveal documented? Everything. I want cameras capturing each prosthetic piece, every fake tremor, every prop. I want experts explaining how it was done. Make it educational." "Jesus, Sam," Adrian muttered. "You're going nuclear." She called me a vegetable, Adrian. In front of 200 people. Told me I was disgusting. That was all he needed to hear. Say no more. We'll have a crew there in 20 minutes. I hung up and reached into my laptop bag. Inside were neatly stacked papers, copies of everything. Bank statements. Prosthetic invoices. $200,000 in itemized special effects expenses. Notes from real stroke specialists who had helped me craft a flawless performance. Patent documents from my career. 47 exhibits. One for every minute left before showdown. But the most important piece was the simplest, a single sealed letter. I had written it 3 weeks ago, handed it to my lawyer, and given him explicit orders. If I vanished, if I died, if I wound up committed somewhere against my will, he was to release it to every major news outlet in the country. My insurance policy. Because once I rose from that chair, once the act was done, there would be no going back. Emma would be ruined, her reputation, her career, her social standing. All of it. But ruined people can be dangerous. Desperation makes them unpredictable. My phone buzzed. A text from Michael. "Dad, where are you? They're about to serve dinner." I typed back slowly, keeping the act alive. "Bathroom. Be right there." It was time to slip back into the act. I rolled into the ballroom, the wheels of my chair humming against the polished floor. The lights had been lowered for dinner, and the whole place glowed in soft candlelight. At the head table, Emma sat in her ivory gown, laughing at something her father said. She looked radiant, like a picture-perfect bride, and completely oblivious that her carefully constructed world was about to come crashing down. They had placed me at table 12. The farthest from the spotlight. Tucked between Michael's elderly aunt and a hospital orderly who barely spoke English. The forgotten table. The misfits. And honestly, perfect. From there I had a clean view of the microphone stand for toasts, the photographers snapping pictures, the exit doors if anyone tried to drag me out, and most importantly, Emma's face. I wanted to see her eyes when the truth finally hit. Dinner service started at exactly 7 o'clock. By 7:15, Emma would make the biggest mistake of her life. And by 7:30, everyone in that room would see her for who she really was. While the salad course was being served, Michael walked over to me. He crouched beside my chair, his voice low and worried. His therapist instincts were alive again. "Dad, can I talk to you for a minute?" He studied me with the eyes of a professional, the posture, the tremors, even the way I gripped my fork. "How are you feeling? You seem different tonight." That cut close. My son knew me too well. "Tired," I slurred, forcing my voice weak. "Long day." But Michael wasn't buying it. "Your muscle tone looks better. And your grip, when you shook hands with Aunt Martha? That was firm, too firm for someone with the damage you claim." He was right. Michael wasn't just my boy. He was a licensed physical therapist, with years of experience helping stroke patients. He'd worked with hundreds of people in real rehab centers. And now he was spotting cracks in the performance. "Dad," he continued, keeping his voice even, "your symptoms don't line up. Your speech isn't consistent. Your fine motor control doesn't match the diagnosis. And you said this stroke happened last month, but I don't see any medications, no blood thinners, no seizure meds. And honestly, your oxygen levels look fine without that tank." He was too good. Too sharp. And if I wasn't careful, he'd unmask me before Emma ever got the chance to condemn herself. I let my eyes glaze over, tilted my head just slightly, and murmured, "Don't understand." Michael leaned closer. "Maybe tomorrow you should let one of my colleagues take a look. Dr. Morales is." And that was when Emma's voice cut through the ballroom like glass breaking. "What are you doing over there?" Her dress rustled as she stormed toward us, her smile painted on for the cameras, her eyes sharp as daggers. "Just checking on Dad," Michael said, rising to his feet. "Well, stop fussing over him. This is our wedding day, not some medical seminar." She clamped onto his arm like a vice. "People are starting to notice." And then I spotted him. Over at the bar, swirling a glass of scotch, stood a man I recognized from Emma's engagement photos, her Uncle Stephen. Dr. Stephen Stone, neurologist at Cedars-Sinai. Emma had bragged about him more than once. "Smartest man in our family. He can spot a faker from across the room." And now he was doing exactly that. Stephen's eyes were locked on me, not with disgust like the others, but with professional suspicion. He had been watching Michael's little examination, and I could tell he was piecing it together. When our eyes met across the room, he lifted his glass slightly. Not in a toast, in acknowledgement. He knew something. Maybe not everything, but enough to sense the truth wasn't what it seemed. "Michael, seriously," Emma snapped, her voice sharper now. "You're embarrassing us. Everyone's staring. I'm just worried about Dad, Michael answered softly. Worried about what? He's here, isn't he? Against my better judgment, I might add. That made Michael stiffen, but Emma kept going, her voice rising with each word. He's ruining our reception with this ridiculous display. Look around, people can barely eat with him making those sounds. I hadn't made a single noise. But truth had never been Emma's strong suit. Dr. Stone edged closer, drifting into earshot, his expression darkening as he listened. Michael tried again. Maybe, Emma, maybe you could show a little compassion. Compassion? She barked. I've shown plenty. I let him come, didn't I? Even though he looks like death and sounds like a broken record? Emma, Michael's voice carried a warning. But she was beyond reason now. No, Michael. I'm done pretending this is normal. Your father is disturbing our guests. Every word echoed through the room as waiters cleared plates. The ballroom had gone quieter, forks pausing midair. And Uncle Stephen was close enough now to hear it all, his face hardening, his scotch untouched. Perfect. Her timing could not have been better. Because what Emma said next would lock her fate forever. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention? Emma stood tall at the head table, champagne glass in one hand, microphone in the other. The photographer crouched into position, eager for the perfect shot. My husband and I want to thank each of you for being here tonight. Your love and support mean the world to us. Polite clapping rolled through the ballroom like a weak wave. I sat in my shadowed corner at table 12, the oxygen tank at my side whispering its fake hiss. Something in Emma's tone made the hairs on my neck rise. She was veering off script. Before we begin the official toasts, she continued, there's something we need to address. Something that's been challenging. The chill that shot through me was ice cold. Many of you have noticed Michael's father, Samuel, here tonight in his wheelchair. What you may not know is that he's been struggling since suffering a stroke last month. 200 heads turned my way. I sank lower, playing the part of the fragile invalid. We debated whether he should attend, Emma went on smoothly, because his condition is unpredictable. But Michael insisted his father be here, and of course, I fully support my husband. The lie slid out of her mouth like silk. However, she pressed, lowering her voice with faux concern, I think it's important for everyone to understand. Samuel isn't quite himself anymore. The stroke affected his cognition. He gets confused. He makes noises he can't control. Dr. Stone was already drifting closer, his neurologist's instincts triggered by the public diagnosis. So if you see him struggling, Emma smiled sadly, please don't be alarmed. He's receiving excellent care, and we're exploring residential options better suited to his needs. Residential options. She had just announced to 200 guests that she was shipping me off to a nursing home. I simply wanted everyone to be aware, so there won't be any uncomfortable moments tonight. To family, in all its forms. She lifted her glass, but the toast rang hollow. A masterclass in humiliation wrapped in fake compassion. And then, salvation. A woman rose from table 6. I knew her face, Dr. Laura Benson, one of Michael's colleagues from the rehab hospital. Her voice cut across the room like a scalpel. Excuse me. The ballroom froze. I'm a neurologist, and I could not help noticing a few inconsistencies in what you've just said. Emma's smile froze. I've observed Mr. Jackson all evening. His eye tracking is too steady for post-stroke. His posture control is intact. And frankly, his oxygen levels look perfectly fine without supplementation. Another voice joined in. Dr. Stone stepped forward, standing shoulder to shoulder with Dr. Benson. I agree. Emma, your account doesn't match anything I'm observing clinically. Emma's face flushed crimson. This isn't appropriate. What's not appropriate, Dr. Benson snapped back, is making public medical claims about someone without evaluation. Michael stood, torn between confusion and anger. What are you saying? I'm saying, Dr. Stone replied carefully, that either your father's recovery is miraculous, or there's something else going on. The air turned electric. Guests whispered behind napkins. Phones appeared. People were recording. Emma's mask cracked. Panic spread across her face. This is ridiculous. Just look at him. He's obviously disabled. He can barely speak. He's drooling all over himself. Her voice broke into a shriek. A vegetable. A pathetic, drooling old vegetable who can't even feed himself. Her words rang through the microphone, echoing against the ballroom walls, amplified for every guest, every camera phone. Vegetable. She had said it again. And this time, it was carved into permanent record, in front of 2 neurologists, a licensed physical therapist, and 200 witnesses. Dr. Stone's face turned white with shame. Emma Marie Stone, he thundered, using her full name like a scolding parent, how dare you speak about any human being that way? Uncle Steve, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. And so does everyone here. He faced the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, what you've just heard is unconscionable. No person, disabled or otherwise, should be spoken about in that manner. Murmurs of disgust swept the room. Guests shifted in their seats. Some stood, shaking their heads. The tide had turned. Emma scanned the ballroom wildly, realizing she had crossed a line that couldn't be crossed back. And that's when I knew. It was time. I reached down and turned off the oxygen tank. The hiss died instantly. The room went silent. Slowly, I unhooked the nasal cannula and placed it on the table like a useless prop. Then I pushed hard on the armrests, rising to my feet. 200 gasps hit the air all at once. Emma's champagne glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the marble floor. "Good evening, everyone," I said clearly, my voice strong and steady. "My name is Samuel Jackson. And I think it's time you all heard the truth about your beautiful bride." I left the wheelchair behind and walked, steady and sure, all the way to the microphone at the head table. No trembling hands. No slurred words. Every ounce of weakness had vanished. Emma stumbled back like she'd just seen a ghost. Her lips trembled. That's impossible. You can't. You had a stroke." I leaned toward her, voice sharp and clear. "There was no stroke, Emma. Not ever." I straightened the microphone, then scanned the ballroom. Shocked faces stared back at me, wide-eyed and silent. "For the last 6 months," I said, my voice carrying through the speakers, "I've been running an experiment. A test. I wanted to see the true character of the woman who planned to marry my son." At the far side of the room, Dr. Stone nodded, slowly putting the pieces together. "The wheelchair cost $12,000. The oxygen tank? Rented from a prop company. The drool, the trembling hands, the frail act? $200,000 worth of Hollywood effects, courtesy of my old partners at the studio." Gasps rippled through the crowd. I lifted my phone. "And every word you said to me, every cruel insult, every dismissive look, I recorded it all." Emma's face shifted like a storm, confusion, panic, fury, shame. "You're lying," she spat. "This is a trick. You were sick. I saw it." I shook my head. "No, Emma. You saw exactly what you wanted to see, a burden. An embarrassment. Someone you could shove out of sight and forget about." I tapped my phone. The ballroom filled with Emma's own voice, amplified through the sound system. "You look like death. That drool situation is disgusting. You belong in a nursing home, not at our wedding." The words hit like bullets. Guests gasped. Some stood and shook their heads. A few headed toward the exits. Others stayed rooted, unwilling to look away from the wreckage. "You called me a vegetable," I said evenly. "You called me disgusting. You tried to erase me from my own son's wedding." At the head table, Michael stood frozen, his face pale with shock. "But there's something you didn't know," I continued. Something that makes this even more interesting. I pulled a folded document from my jacket and held it up. I am worth $62 million. To be exact, $62,358,942. The number crashed into the room like thunder. That fortune came from selling my special effects company to Disney, from patents on prosthetic technology, from investments and royalties. And every dime of it was meant for Michael. A wedding gift. A trust fund for his future family. Emma's knees buckled. She clutched the table like it was the only thing keeping her upright. I repeated. Past tense. I flipped open my laptop on the head table and connected it to the projection system. My Wells Fargo banking interface filled the ballroom screens. Because 30 minutes ago, I made a few changes. With 200 people watching, I navigated through the wire transfer history. $6 million to the National Disability Rights Network. $3 million to the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation. $1 million each to the United Spinal Association, the Paralyzed Veterans of America, and the Brain Injury Association. I clicked execute. Numbers vanished from my account in real time. That's $12 million gone. Donated to the very people you sneered at and called vegetables. The room buzzed like a hive. Guests whispered furiously. Some applauded. Others just stared at Emma like she'd grown horns. The remaining $50 million will stay in trust, I said. But with one condition. Michael gets access only if he divorces you within 90 days. If he stays married to someone who spits on disabled people, then every cent goes to charity. Michael finally found his voice. Dad. I don't understand. Why would you do this? Why test her this way? I looked at my son, and my voice softened. Because I had to know who she really was. When she thought I was poor, she treated me like dirt. When she thought I was broken, she treated me like I wasn't even human. I turned back to Emma, my gaze hard. And you, someone who works in healthcare, someone trusted to advocate for patients, you called a man in a wheelchair a vegetable. At your own wedding. Mascara streaked down her face. I didn't mean it, she sobbed. I was under pressure. I was stressed. You meant every word, I said coldly. And now 200 people know exactly what you think of those who can't defend themselves. Dr. Stone stepped forward, his voice trembling with fury. I'm ashamed to call you family, Emma. What I heard tonight goes against everything we stand for in medicine. Uncle Steve, please. No. His voice was final. You've shown us your true self. And it is ugly. I clicked again on my laptop, bringing up one last image on the screens. The exterior of the Los Angeles Medical Center, the very place we stood. There's one more thing you should know, Emma. You picked this venue because you thought it was pretty. But this center donates its profits to pediatric care, to sick and disabled children. The very children you would probably call vegetables, too. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. And then I dropped the final twist. I've been recording this entire evening, I said into the mic. In 10 minutes, the footage goes live. Every insult. Every dismissal. Every time you called me a vegetable. And it will be shared by national disability rights groups. Millions of people will see exactly who you are. Emma's phone buzzed violently on the table. She fumbled for it, her face draining of color. Her colleagues, her so-called friends, her followers, they were already seeing the clips guests had uploaded during dinner. Your career in healthcare is finished, I told her flatly. No hospital will hire someone who spits on patients. No clinic will trust you with the vulnerable. No board will overlook what you said tonight. She sagged into her chair like her bones couldn't hold her anymore. The fight was gone. $50 million, I said, turning to Michael. You've got 90 days to decide what matters more, money, or staying married to someone who failed the simplest test of human decency. I scanned the ballroom one last time. People couldn't even look me in the eye. The bar's still open, I added. Enjoy the evening. Then I walked out, strong and steady, leaving Emma Stone sobbing into a ruined $15,000 dress while 200 stunned guests slipped out in silence. The test was over. She had failed in front of everyone. 15 minutes later, the ballroom was empty. Not a trickle, not polite goodbyes, like a fire drill, people bolted. I waited in the lobby, no longer pretending, standing tall in my disguise. Guests streamed past me without a word. Dr. Stone was the first to approach. His face was grave. "Mr. Jackson, what you did tonight. I've never seen anything like it." "Good or bad?" I asked. "Necessary," he said firmly. "Emma's always been cruel, but this? I work with stroke patients every day. What she said to you, what she believed, it's everything broken about our healthcare system." Dr. Benson joined him, phone in hand. "The video's already viral. #VegetableGroom is trending. Over 3 million views in the last hour." My own phone buzzed without pause. News outlets. Talk shows. Documentary requests. The wildfire had started. Mr. Jackson, a young reporter from Channel 7, pushed forward. "Can we get a statement?" Before I could answer, the ballroom doors flew open. Emma stumbled out. Her gown was stained, mascara streaking down her cheeks, hair falling from its pins. She looked nothing like the picture-perfect bride from an hour earlier. "You destroyed me," she screamed. "You ruined my life." Security stepped forward, but I waved them back. "You destroyed yourself," I said calmly. "I just gave you the rope." "You had $62 million, she cried. "And you let me believe you were poor." "I wanted to see the truth," I replied. "To see who you really were when the mask slipped. Who I really was." Her voice echoed through the marble lobby. "I was trying to protect my wedding. My reputation. My family. By calling disabled people vegetables? By humiliating a man you thought was helpless? That was private, between us." I shook my head. "Nothing is private when cruelty is involved. Tonight, Emma, you gave the disability community the clearest proof of why their fight matters. And they won't let the world forget it." She clutched her phone like a lifeline. "It's everywhere. The comments, the shares, they found my work email, my hospital's number. I can't stop it." She sobbed harder. "Los Angeles Memorial already called. I'm suspended. The medical board is reviewing my license." Dr. Stone stepped forward, his voice like a hammer. "And you called a patient a vegetable at your own wedding. What did you think would happen?" "He wasn't a real patient," she shouted desperately. "It was fake." "But your attitude was real," Dr. Benson cut in, her tone ice. "And now every disabled person in America knows exactly how you see them." That's when Michael appeared. Jacket gone. Tie loose. His face pale, eyes raw. "Dad," he said softly, "can we talk?" I nodded, and we moved into a quiet corner of the lobby. "I don't understand any of this," he admitted. "The money. The act. Why put her through this in public?" "Because cruelty like hers hides in shadows, son," I said. "Every day, in hospitals, in nursing homes, even in families, people who can't fight back get treated like less than human. Nobody sees it. Nobody hears it. I wanted the world to see." Michael's eyes brimmed with tears. He was quiet a long time. "The money?" he finally asked. "You'd really give it all away?" I put my hand on his shoulder. "Son, I've got more than I'll ever need. But dignity? Respect? That's worth more than all the money in the world." "And if I stay married to her?" he asked, almost in a whisper. "Then you stay married to someone who thinks disabled people are vegetables," I said, steady and clear. "And every dime of that 50 million goes to the people fighting against her kind of cruelty." I glanced back at Emma. She was cornered by reporters now, yelling, her ruined wedding dress clinging to her like a bad memory. 90 days, I whispered to myself. 90 days. Right then, my phone rang. Adrian from Hollywood FX Studios. Samuel, the breakdown video is finished. We've got medical experts explaining every prosthetic, every effect. It doubles as educational content about disability in media. Perfect timing. And the disability rights groups? I asked. They want interviews. This isn't just a story anymore, man. This is turning into a movement. I looked around the lobby. Cameras flashing. Reporters circling. Phones buzzing with posts that were already making their way across the internet. Tonight had started as a test of one woman's heart. By tomorrow, it would be about changing how the world treats millions. 3 months later, I sat in my real office, no more pretending with the dingy apartment, reading the morning paper. Michael had filed for divorce on day 87. Clean break. No payout for Emma, no settlement beyond her own legal bills, and a digital trail she could never outrun. The hashtag vegetablegroom still popped up every week, tied to articles about disability rights wins. Her name was gone from hospitals, scrubbed from license registries. Word was, she was folding sweaters in a Phoenix department store under her maiden name. I didn't feel joy. Just quiet satisfaction. Consequences. Nothing more, nothing less. The 50 million stayed where it belonged, in Michael's trust. He'd chosen human decency over shallow appearances. A simple choice in theory, yet, for some, apparently the hardest one of all. My phone buzzed. A text from Michael. Dad, lunch? Got news. We met at our old diner in Van Nuys, the same booth where we'd eaten after Little League games. Michael looked lighter. Happier. I'm engaged, he said, sliding a photo across the table. A woman smiled back at me from the picture. Kind eyes. Scrubs uniform. Her name's Dr. Monica Martinez. Pediatric rehabilitation. We met at one of your speaking events. She works with kids recovering from brain injuries. I smiled. My speaking tour had taken on a life of its own, universities, hospitals, advocacy groups. The story of that night had cracked doors wide open. She knows about the money? I asked. Told her on our second date, Michael said. You know what she told me? Any man whose father would spend $200,000 testing his fiancé's character must have learned something real about love. Smart woman, I said. She wants to meet you. Without the prosthetics this time. I'd like that. The waitress brought our food, and I just sat there, watching my son. A good man. A man who had chosen character over cash when it mattered. There's more, Michael said. The foundation board wants you as director of public awareness. 6-figure salary, travel, the works. The Samuel Jackson Foundation for Disability Dignity had started with $12 million of my own money. Since then, donations had poured in from strangers who'd seen the video and wanted to help. I'm considering it, I admitted. You should. In 3 months, you've spoken to over 50,000 people, students, doctors, administrators. You're changing minds, Dad. True. The story had already made its way into medical ethics courses. The prosthetics breakdown was being taught in film schools as an example of special effects used for good. Hospitals had even started rewriting policies about how staff speak about patients with disabilities. Michael hesitated, then smiled. Monica and I, we want you to walk her down the aisle. Her father passed away last year. I felt my chest tighten. Pride, love, something bigger than money. I'd be honored, I said. But this time, no prosthetics. No games. Just a father walking his future daughter-in-law into her new life. He laughed softly. That's all she wants. Outside the diner window, people went about their lives, some in wheelchairs, some with canes, some carrying invisible burdens no one else could see. All of them deserving dignity. All of them deserving better than being written off as nothing. The test was over. But the work, that was only beginning. And Emma, in her twisted way, had been right about one thing. It really had been a perfect day. If you liked the story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.